All right. Happy holidays. It's going to be the holidays. I'm super excited. December is one of my favorite months of the year. That's why I'm super excited. So anyway, good morning. December 8th Executive Committee meeting is called to order. First, here you go, official. I'd like to ask our interpreters to explain how to access interpretation. Please go ahead.
Good morning. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, the world, and select English as your language. If you're joining through the Zoom mobile app from a cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on mute original audio to not hear the original Spanish low in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you're in a meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Buenos días. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, por favor, desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, el globo terráqueo, y seleccione español. Si está usando una aplicación móvil de Zoom desde un celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación si se encuentra en la sala de la reunión. Por favor, pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to start with the meeting with our tribal acknowledgement. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. The tribal nations of the San Diego region have historically faced injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respects to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States, from 4 cultural groups, the Kumeyaay, the Yiño, the Luiseño, the Cupeño, and the Cahuilla. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the SANDAG community who acknowledge this legacy, we aspire to learn from Indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences in undoing the injustices of the past. Now, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Okay, Ms. Tessa, can you please call the roll?
Good morning. City of San Diego, Vice Chair Elo Rivera.
Present.
County of San Diego, Chairwoman Vargas.
Present.
East County, Councilmember Shu.
Here.
North County Coastal, Mayor, Second Vice Chair Heavner.
Present.
And Councilmember Burkholder.
Present.
North County Inland is absent. South County, Councilmember Duncan.
Present.
And the Chair of the Audit Committee is here, Deputy Mayor Zito.
Present.
That concludes the roll call and confirms a quorum.
Thank you. So now before we proceed to non-agenda comments, I'd like to remind everyone in the room today that this meeting will be conducted in an orderly manner and to ensure that the public has opportunity to be heard and that members' discussion and deliberations are not disrupted. We want to hear from every person who has comments on the subjects of today's meetings. I will ask that comments remain on topic, please. No comments shall be allowed threatening, profane, or abusive language that disrupts the orderly conduct of the meeting. It will be not tolerated. As such, language or any other disorderly conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the committee meetings is prohibited. Based on those factors, for today's meeting, each member of the public will be allowed a minute for comments. Also, as a reminder, we do not use the voting pads for the executive committee meeting, so please go ahead and raise your hand if you would like to speak. With that, we're going to begin today's meeting with non-agenda public comments. This is for public and member non-agenda comments. Tessa, do we have any public non-agenda public comments?
Thank you. I have 2 in-person non-agenda public commenters and 4 virtual. Alan C., please come to the podium.
Good morning, Alan C. It's been a while, some changes. As I noticed, I mentioned the podium got moved back further and the chair is back here. We only get a minute, amazing. kind of goes against the Brown Act. I just want to point out, as you put forth today's agenda and grants and taxes and all that, you remember what happened yesterday in Chula Vista and a month ago in San Diego? Our water rates got increased. Thanks to Biden inflation, gas prices are at $5 a gallon. Utah's about $2.90, $2.70 a gallon. All utilities and gas prices affects everything. The price of groceries, milk, diapers, everything gets affected. So as you look at, yes, the mileage tax still in effect going through state car, but look at all these things where you're spending our money, which in turn raises taxes. It just affects everybody. And we had COVID for 2 years, lockdown, yet you didn't stop their tax. And now they're suffering. So please consider everything you're putting forth these agendas, spend wisely, because the bottom line is it hurts your great grandkids down the road. I yield back. Thank you.
Sarah Ochoa, please come to the podium. You'll be followed by the first virtual speaker, Blair B.
Good morning, Chairwoman Vargas and committee members. My name is Sarah Ochoa, and I'm a resident of Chula Vista. We've been going through so much as a society lately, with so much unrest, fear, and distrust. There are countless factors beyond my control, but here in San Diego County, where we're raising our younger children and my older children always have a home, I focus on doing what I can to build community and support public servants who rise to the occasion. I honor those of you here who focus your energies on the ways in which you can create positive change, keeping your eyes up and proactively looking for opportunities to call out the gold in one another as you do good work. As you continue with such critical work as identifying SANDAG's next executive director, who will shape and implement our region's transportation future, I trust you will do so with great care for the weight of this responsibility. Thank you, Hassan Akrada, for your service to San Diego and best wishes on your next chapter. To those of you who continue to serve and hold faith with us, the public, thank you.
Our first virtual speaker, Blair B. You will be followed by Paul the Bold. Blair, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman. I feel even with some new current national security concerns at the local level at this time in this country, it is hopeful that for the most part, it seems the County of San Diego and local U.S. communities want to continue to work towards peace, open democracy, accountability, and our better human ideals at this time and over the next few months. This is local U.S. communities working collectively to continue ideas of openness and positive sustainability at this difficult time of war in the Middle East. And from this, important good ways the local and national level in the U.S. can stay out of the democracy of war and a war economy at this time as well. I thank you and how continuing to work towards openness and better ideals at the local level in this country at this time can give needed good examples and best practices for all sides in Israel, Gaza, and the Middle East at this time as well. A quick reminder that some of our best practices at this time can include ideas of reimagined health and human services and tech accountability. Good luck to the meeting today and to openness at the local level.
Our next public commenter, Paul the Bold, will be followed by the original draw. Paul the Bold, please go ahead.
Happy holidays, everyone. Happy holidays. Paul the Bold here. SANDAG continues to limit our free speech and cut down our speaking time. We do not have input into the CEO selection once the finalists are chosen. We should. Limiting our speaking time, interrupting us, cutting off our last sentence is perpetuating the disrespect you want us to avoid. It is not conducive to an atmosphere of tolerance. Even if we are off topic or not yet on topic, you should give us the benefit of the doubt and accept what factoids and lessons you can learn. You should listen, be patient with us, and be honored to have all our free advice. And Hassan, please don't let the doors slam on you on the way out.
Our next public commenter, the original draw, will be followed by phone number 813. The original draw, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're actually going to hear all the commenters at this time. Anywho, it's kind of funny to sit there and watch you guys do a Pledge of Allegiance, right, to the flag of the United States of America. That's not the corporation that you work for. I don't even think you guys know what you're sitting there and pledging allegiance to, because it's also to the republic for which it stands. And you guys always talk about this is a democracy. So it's like, you don't even know what you're doing. And so it's funny because to deprive the people of their sovereignty, it is first necessary to get the people to agree to submit to the authority of the entity they have created. And that's what's happening. You guys were created by the people. You're supposed to be governed. We're supposed to be telling you what to do. You have to have our consent to do it. And you guys do everything but that. You sit there and you act like you have all this fake authority and you get to determine what happens. And you don't have to listen to the people. All of you guys need to get in line with what you're actually supposed to do, which is nothing that you're doing now, but we have a new year.
Your time expired. Our final public commenter, phone number 813, please go ahead.
Consuelo, there is no such thing as man-made law. There are only rules and regulations that apply to consenting members of a particular society. Anyone can create a membership club and assign a series of rules that in no way gives them the authority to force them on to non-consenting people just minding their own business. The society to which government assign their rules is no more than a glorified membership club. Its rules have no inherent authority other than the degree to which they can intimidate others to obey them with the threat of their monopoly on force. You have the sovereignty you always have. The illusion of the illusion of centralized government is no longer working. And so we see the last-ditch attempts by authoritarians to consolidate what remains.
Your time expired, and that concludes the non-agenda public comments.
All right. All right. So with that, let's begin today's meeting. Do we have any member comments? No? Okay. And just a reminder that the executive meeting, I know I said this before, but just raise your hand or wave at me and we'll make sure. Consent items. We're going to move on to consent items. Colleen, do we have any updates on the draft agenda this item?
Chairwoman, no, we do not have any updates to the agenda for the board meeting.
Okay. Is there any public comments on the consent agenda?
I have two public comments. Blair B., please go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. You are approving your previous meeting minutes on the consent calendar. I wanted to comment that a part of the meeting minutes was an item about the future of security for SANDAG meetings. And I've written yourselves some letters on the subject. I hope you're taking the subject seriously in terms of how to consider reimagine ideas as part of the future security issues. You know, I think there's a tough group that comes in with pretty strong voices, but they're good people and they're not there to hurt yourselves. And once we're clear on that issue, I understand you may have some security concerns, but I hope we can really address, that a minimal use of future security is possible and ideas that are temporary and not permanent. If you do have to do security measures, those are key things to me. Good luck how we can talk more about this. Minimal security is possible in the future, so we can be happy and free.
Thank you. Your time expired. Our final commenter, the original draw, please go ahead.
Great job, Blair. Okay, so the common law is the real law, the supreme law of the land. The codes, rules, regulations, policies, and statutes are not law. Legislative statutes enforced upon the people in the name of law are fraud. They have no authority and are without mercy. Justice without mercy is godless and therefore repugnant to our United States Constitution. Lawmakers were given the authority by the people to legislate codes, rules, regulations, and statutes, which are policies, procedures, and law to control the behavior of bureaucrats, elected and appointed officials, municipalities, and agencies, but were never given the authority to control the behavior of the people as we read in the Supreme Court. Legislators simply do not have the authority to rulemake. Where rules are secured by the Constitution are involved, there can be no rulemaking. Where rights are, or legislatures which should abrogate them. Only people are sovereign and have rights. Bureaucrats in their capacity are not sovereign and have no rights. They have the authority given by the people and are subject to the statutes. You guys are confusing the people because you want to sit here and act like you have authority over us. We're the ones with the authority over you. Step in line.
And that concludes the public comments on the consent agenda.
All right, are there any member comments? Yes, sir.
I have just a quick comment on item number 5, the legislative status report, and then I'd like to move approval of the consent calendar. So my quick comment is I really do appreciate the report of what the changes in terms of leadership in Sacramento and at the federal government as well. In previous meetings, we've talked about how we can kind of focus in on means to increase funding for specialized transportation. I hope we can continue to concentrate on that, and maybe we can work with staff on strategizing what part of state funding sources and legislation may be possible in the future. We can pursue that. So with that, I'd like to move approval of the consent calendar.
Thank you, Councilman Shu. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a second. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any no? No. Any no's? Okay, motion carries. All right. The next item on the agenda is item number 4 for the review of bylaws, board policies, and governance. I was not at the last executive committee meeting where these were initially presented to all of you, but I have been briefed by staff and appreciate the additional analysis and information you all requested in the last meeting. So I'm going to hand it over to Amberlyn so that she can go over the proposed amendments.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning. My name is Amberlyn Deaton. I'm SANDAG's Deputy General Counsel, and I'm here today on item number 6. And I'm returning to you today as part of the second step of the agency's annual process to consider proposed amendments to its bylaws and board policies. At your last meeting, the committee considered proposed amendments to its bylaws and 8 of its board policies that were all aimed at ensuring consistency with agency practice, streamlining agency workflows, and updating to align with any changes to the law. The committee discussed those proposed changes, which are all reflected in redline in today's report as well, and requested additional analysis of a few items. So today I'll be highlighting those items that were identified for additional analysis and discussion by the committee. And so first, you may recall that the committee considered proposed amendments to Board Policy 39, which is the Audit Advisory Committee policy. There was a request from the committee for additional analysis and feedback from the independent performance auditor. So at the request of the Audit Committee Chair and the IPA, that item will be coming back to you at a later date with that additional information and analysis. The next item the committee identified was related to Board Policy 4, which is the rules of procedure for Board and Policy Advisory Committee meetings. Those proposed amendments included the addition of rules of decorum for participation at board and PAC meetings. And in addition to those rules of decorum for meetings, there was a request to consider applying similar rules to SANDAG's public events and activities. So in response to that request, we have provided, or we have proposed language to SANDAG's public participation policy, which is attachment 7 to your report. And so starting at Section 8, those amendments specify rules of conduct for participating in SANDAG's public events and activities, and allows for the issuance of warnings and removal for participants disrupting that event. Those proposed rules for public participation at events and activities largely mirrors the rules for participation at board and committee meetings. And then lastly, we received a request for additional information regarding the authorities of the board chair, which is under Article 5, Section 2 of your bylaws. And that provision, which is can be located on page 47 of your agenda, that allows the board to delegate authority to the board chair. So as outlined in your report, the board has previously taken action to delegate certain responsibilities to the chair, and which you can see from the list that's provided. It ranges from the selection of officers for policy advisory committees to taking certain action when timing requires. That delegation also includes a more general power to preside over board and committee meetings and have general supervision of board and committee affairs. And the committee and ultimately the board could consider modifications to those existing delegations or the addition of other delegations that are not currently addressed. And so with that, I'm happy to take any further direction from the committee on any further updates you may want to see. Or if the committee is prepared to act today, it could consider a recommendation to the board for some or all of the proposed amendments that are before you today.
We're going to go ahead and go to public comment.
Thank you. I have one in-person and 4 virtual public commenters. LNC, please come to the podium.
Thank you. Yeah, I looked over through this. There's so much to talk about, but I suppose I'll focus on that one right there, as I mentioned earlier. The MTS funding, 2/3 are funded by the taxpayer. And yet, again, as I mentioned earlier, responsible spending, responsible uses, we've been promised roads expansion for I don't know how long, and you're looking at changing some of these rules. But again, as I mentioned earlier, keep that in mind. If this organization was a private business, it'd be a tax bailout fail. Why is 2/3 funded by taxpayers? Please consider all that. Thank you.
Our next commenter, phone number 731, will be followed by phone number 813. Phone number 731, please go ahead.
Hey, it's Truth. I'm currently on a rooftop enjoying the sunshine. Under sponsorship, the chair no longer chooses event sponsors, which I agree with, but our sponsored events over $5,000 now able to be approved without board approval because that part's stricken from the revised policy. Events over $1,000 should require board approval. It's also strange that claims against SANDAG will not necessarily be presented to the board. If that's not guaranteed, how could the board grant or deny applications or agreements? Is all power going to the executive director without board knowledge? Even under appearances on behalf of SANDAG, the executive director can now appear on behalf of SANDAG in small claims court. That's disaster waiting to happen. And if the public participation plan seeks to involve all citizens, then this plan is an utter failure. You guys are also failing to regularly inform local print, online, and media about SANDAG decisions and events. But I like to mention that these meetings are all about public transit and not about fixing our crumbling roads and infrastructure, failing to ensure transportation equality. All modes deserve equal access and funding. That's what needs to happen with our money. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you.
Our next public commenter, phone number 813, please go ahead. You are self-muted.
Consuelo. So yeah, it just speaks volumes about your public participation. You guys have nobody coming in. The majority of the county doesn't even know SANDAG exists. Yet you want to penalize the people who are there calling you out. You are such cowards, 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 cowards. It's pathetic. And Nora, I hope, actually I invite you, come with me on this break, on this Christmas break, and help me feed some of our homeless brothers and sisters. Let's break bread. How about that? I invite you. Are you up for it? Are you? I hope so. See you in a bit.
Our next public commenter, Blair B., will be followed by the final commenter, original draw. Blair, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman here. I think it's good that you're learning to offer some sort of preface at the beginning of the meetings to ask for ideas of decorum, what to expect of a public meeting. Again, I feel the people who are attending public meetings, although their voices can be a little strong, they have good hearts and they want a good purpose for the future of the process. Good luck how we can all work on that together. And, it's from there, I trust what the words of the original DRA and what she's been through in this process. I mean, I'm considering thinking of ideas and offering ideas to you. We have like female counselors as security. I mean, we can just simply talk to people. I think that's the sort of security we need. We don't need big, bulky sheriffs. We need, female health counselors, basically. basically, to kind of talk down situations, de-escalate the good stuff, not big bulky people. Good luck in working on these issues. Hope we can talk more about it together. Thank you.
Our final commenter, the original draw, please go ahead.
Appreciate you, Blair. It's just sad because these people, like I told you before, you were never given the authority to control the behaviors of the people, and all laws and rules and practices which are repugnant to the Constitution are null and void, and everything that you're doing is null and void. Yet you sit here and you project like you have all this authority. And you guys, when you get in this power, you let it go to your head, and so then you think that you get to sit here and dictate what the people say, intimidate them, but also at the same time, in your doublespeak, say that you want people to come. And like the other commenters have said, nobody shows up there, but yet you claim to want them to, but then you want to strong arm them and intimidate them by bringing in a sheriff or whatever. And when people have been beat up just for coming to meetings before and thrown in jail, it's like, I mean, do you really want that to be the look that you guys have when you sit there and say that you want people to come in? And even bringing that to public events and participation just because you have dissent and you don't like it? It's not up to you to determine what the people say or how they're saying it. And it's a reflection of what you're doing. Stop doing it.
Your time expired. That concludes the public comments.
All right, are there any member comments?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
I want to start by thanking staff. I know council spent a lot of time working on this. Also, the board's engagement, the significant amount of engagement over the course of the year, I believe, to put this all together. I think it's quite comprehensive. I'm looking forward to seeing if there's additional conversation today, but an important part of governance is taking a look at our rules and making sure that we're updating them on a regular basis and they account for situations that we may have not been able to anticipate before, but that either have arisen or we can now see potentially arising. And I think we're doing a good job of doing that here. So with all of that, I am happy to move approval of the recommendations for the updates to the bylaws and board policies.
Thank you. Any other additional comments?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Seaton. I just noticed in the bylaws, Article 5, officers and their duties, there was no mention of language that allows the chair, if it's not you, any chair, to enter into contracts absent the board approval or recommendation, or as it's stated in here, delegated authority. And I'm thinking to protect the chair, it would be helpful to have language to that effect in the bylaws, so that we don't have the public or members of the board questioning the motives of the chair when entering into contracts. For example, the one that we entered, that Ms. Vargas entered into with the CEO search. I'd love board feedback.
Wondering if that one, since it's been president before, so can you talk a little bit about that? How is that something that needs to be in the bylaws, or is it a guideline, or how it's a great conversation to have though. Go ahead.
Right, and I know Amberlynn's done a lot of analysis of this, but I'll say generally, you can really have two different kind of flavors of bylaws. You can have very specific bylaws that call out every authority that the chair has. And if they're not specifically called out, then the chair doesn't have that authority. Or you can have more general bylaws. And I will say right now, you do have more general bylaws that require some interpretation, but the downside of that is that there's a bit of ambiguity as well. You as the board can certainly choose how it is that you want those bylaws to be expressed. Right now, that is an area that I would say is a bit ambiguous. What does general supervision over board affairs mean? If you want to specify that, can certainly do that. Amberlynn, I don't know if that's anything else that you've specifically dug into.
No, I think that's a great summary. That is something that we could add should the committee and ultimately the board decide that they want that level of specificity. But otherwise, we would turn to the more general delegation that's been given by the board to the chair.
So is that something that you can bring back to so we can talk about what the pros and cons are about that? So, because I think so for instance, one of the things that happens every week, I get, and I'm going to be super honest, and I don't know if other chairs because I've talked to the executive leadership program, the leadership group about this. I get a list of sponsorship packets that I have to approve, which I actually don't think that that's good governance. I'm approving $1,000 tables for the Starlights this or $500 for us to go do that and this and that. And I actually don't think that's good use of my time as the chair. I think the CEO of the organization should be doing that because I think as a board, I mean, I have been a CEO in the past. I've also been a board chair of other organizations. So based on my previous experience, so I'm kind of meshing this stuff, but I kind of want to give you my sort of 2 cents. And then it's up to the board to make decisions. And I want to ask you to provide feedback for us so that we as a board can make a decision as a whole, right? But I'm having this is not my full-time job, right? And so I'm having to make decisions for an agency where, it's not my day-to-day job. And so when we're making contracts, I think it's very important that I have the authority when I'm making those, I come back and I do it I go back to the executive committee. Like the way we did it last time, we had set president. I went back to the executive team. I met with the executive committee. There was a whole process that I did. It wasn't just Nora Vargas making the decision. I checked off on it and I did it on my own, which is always a thing that I get really nervous about, giving one person too much authority, right? I always think it's really important to have a checks and balances so that you don't give one person that much ability to just kind of go off on their own and kind of just, because you never know. I feel like I tend to be a little bit more just in making sure that there's a lot of opinions and inclusivity, but you never know. You have somebody who's going to go rogue and be like, oh, my way or the highway. I mean, maybe people see that that's how I do it. I don't know. But I think that's important. That's why you have these checks and balances. But I would like to hear about that perspective and give feedback and then.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. One of the ways we do it in Carlsbad anyway is to set limits on what those conditions of the contracts are, which I think is not unreasonable. I think it might help lift some of the weight from you as well, because I hear what you're saying. I think it's a valid point, but I like and appreciate the fact that we're having the discussion about it. So thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe you can bring it back. Yeah. Okay, good.
Chair, could I throw out a second so we can continue discussion?
Of course.
Okay.
Sorry.
I would like to second.
Any other discussion? I apologize about that. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
I'm glad we're having this discussion because quite often organizations, and I'm speaking very generally, organizations respond with very restrictive language meant to do good, but end up bogging our organization down. So I'm glad we're having the discussion. Maybe there are some limits. Maybe we could put some limits on how much discretion chairs and staff can have. But in general, when an executive, which we give a lot of responsibility to, makes a decision in which a few board members are opposed to, it leads to some kind of, I think, reaction that may be, I would say, overreactive. And I'm just thinking of my past knowledge of SANDAG. I've seen that happen at times. I see them happening now, in which we end up doing something that may look good, at least for the few people who objected to a decision that was made, but end up in the long run dragging the organization down. So I hope we continue the discussion because we do want SANDAG to work well. And I think we do want the majority of the SANDAG board to feel that we have some say-so and strong guidance for the organization. So we need that balance. But as I study governance in general, I see why, at least in my city, and I think both in regional and state and federal government, things get bogged down because really it was an over response to something.
Can I just respond to that, please, Chair?
Yes, sir.
Just to be clear and for the record, I was not opposed to the fact that you entered into the contract because I think that's very important. Yeah,
You
I-
said that actually from the.
Yeah, I just didn't sound like Mr. Shu understood that perhaps, but yeah, no, I think it's just important that we have clear stated guidelines to protect the chair and also so that we're transparent in governance.
Okay.
One quick comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm glad we're having a discussion too. And as it comes back to us, if we could consider not just maybe a dollar amount, but also subject matter, because again, you know, our employee is the CEO, and maybe it would be appropriate for the chair to deal with that sort of a contract for looking for a new CEO, but it wouldn't be for like a, you know, a bridge project. Yeah, subject matter as well as dollar
I
amount.
think that's why I get nervous because, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not going to be the chair for a long time. So go ahead.
Thanks, Chair.
I love
Yeah, I
that
just
point,
wanted
by the
to, thanks to Amber Lynn. She did provide some clarification. I just want to make a couple of additional comments at the last meeting, which I wasn't here at either, unfortunately. There was a request by the board to leadership to have the new IPA, Courtney, take a look at the board policy 39 changes. And as we might expect, she's working very hard coming up to speed and asked for a little bit more time, which is why I asked for this item to be continued. But it has, and I think it's a great idea having more eyes, particularly educated and very capable eyes, look at these is a good thing for us. However, I was just put the request out there that we do intend to come back relatively quick, and I'd hope that we don't have to wait till next December before those changes are considered as we get them refined after her look at it. So that's one comment. The other comment I wanted to make is just wanted to thank and I note that I think it's a good step forward that we're acknowledging other modes of transportation and providing for potential reimbursement for transit and getting to these meetings as opposed to just driving. I do think looking into the future, we should be trying to go further in the sense that if you look at what we're compensating indirectly through providing free parking and per mileage charge, we're clearly way benefiting driving over the other modes of transit. And maybe we should be looking at just saying, okay, you get a flat transportation allowance based upon the miles you travel, no matter how you get here. But just something to think about of just saying, hey, let's let's treat all modes of transportation equally and try to actually walk the talk that we're doing. Thanks.
I have an idea. Why don't you take it to the transportation committee and give them recommendations? Because I think that's a really cool idea.
I know who to talk to. Thanks.
Yeah, no, because see, I mean, isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? Coming up with really good. No one else is thinking about that, right? And I don't bike to work, so somebody who does should be thinking about innovative ways that we can make recommendations to folks.
Yeah, between the two people sitting here that the bike here, I'm certainly welcoming that. I thought there were some federal restrictions on reimbursement from federal transportation funding.
But I'm sure that industry would really appreciate it because industry is trying to figure out how to keep young people into work.
And I think we'd be more acting, walking our talk, so to speak, which is probably the wrong kind
Anyway,
of.
I digress. I apologize. Thank you, sir. Anything else? Anyone else? Are you sure? Just kidding. All right. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Excuse me, Chairwoman, can I have the motion maker clarify that this is to approve the amendments today and also direct staff?
Yeah, so I'll read the motion. The motion is to approve the proposed amendments to board policies and bylaws that were proposed. And then we had a whole discussion. There was some, our colleagues, we had a conversation and our colleagues, we talked about a couple of things in terms, including, coming back with some guidelines and some additional information. But the proposed amendments to board policies and bylaws is what we're actually recommending. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
Yeah. So we have a motion and a second, and we're going to do it again just to make sure that it's everybody's cool. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. And I just want to say thank you to Amberlyn again, to the team, all the board members that participated and everyone else. So with that, we're going to go ahead and, we don't have any more agenda public comments, right?
We have no further non-agenda public comments.
Okay, so you get 15 minutes to enjoy and be merry. And then our actual next executive committee meeting will be January 12th at 9 a.m. And our executive committee is adjourned. Please enjoy yourselves. And then we're starting our executive committee meeting at 9:30, board meeting, I'm sorry, at 9:30 a.m. Have some coffee, talk to each other.